Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 4th Smackdown review. I was thinking about this very hard, actually when I did my Impact review. Did I actually want to do this review? Because, look, Raw is not doing well. No matter if they have done some good things, like I said in my Raw review, it really hasn't been that great. And Wednesday Night Main Event is something I had seen maybe twice, and decided I didn't want to make any reviews on it because really, most of the time they do recaps just like in a pre-pay-per-view and just for a couple of matches in like they were undercard. Now in some cases that's good, but that is for a pre-show of a pay-per-view, not a show that you're putting on in hopes of drumming up more publicity. And like Saturday Morning Slam, which adds on to it, we've been saturated by the WWE. We have. We've been so badly saturated, it's almost to the point where I've seen people, I've looked at several other, basically channels. They're still interested in stuff, but let's be honest, they're getting tired. The British Fist is practically exhausted when it comes to WWE. And they're getting tired of TNA, and I don't blame them. Off the Rope Show has pretty much almost done nothing about Raw. They did one last week, which I'm so glad to see. And Tasteless Tony T and Slick Daddy, thank you. I'm glad you did your Raw review because I miss watching you guys. I do miss you, and I'm glad you're back, Tasteless Tony T. But you know what? I can understand why they're exhausted. There's nothing good. This show is supposed to do what Impact did this past Thursday, trying to build to the next pay-per-view. They didn't do that great, but they did have storylines that led into Genesis, even though they're not great at all. But still, what we got here barely led into anything. In the beginning of the show, we have Sheamus, and we got Randy Orton saying they're going to throw their hats into the Royal Rumble. Well, that's not something we've already seen. Ugh. And then Big Show comes out. Typical. I expected it to happen. But the person that surprised me, and also surprised me at the end, and I'm going to say the next match, which is the last match of the night, when I'm finished with this, but Antonio Cesaro, the U.S. champion, shows up, which actually in this case saved that segment. Not, the segment still sucked, but made it at least interesting enough that someone who's a newcomer is actually being featured with 3 veterans. No matter how much you think Sheamus isn't a veteran, because he's only been there maybe 5, maybe 6 years. Let's be honest. But still, doesn't make a difference. These are the ones who are the most featured. And having Antonio there, where they've been trying to get him over for months, and it has flopped so badly. They didn't put him in a good character. They didn't give him a good stick with his character. They didn't pair him up with anybody that could be interesting. Zero. He has nothing going for him, but you can see his potential, especially when it came to the match at the end of the night, when him and Big Show versus Randy Orton and Sheamus. As much as Big Show was in there, the one who did the majority of the work for the entire tag team match was Antonio. He did. He was the one that was being featured here. And I wish to say JBL did everything he could to feature this man. Even though he has the worst stick you can think of. Even though he's not paired up with anybody. Even though his mic skills are not bad, but because of his character and stick that goes with it, it's just horrible. JBL did everything he could to make this an interesting match. And unfortunately, Antonio had to lose this. It would have been better to have a count out or DQ. I would have liked that. Having a count out or DQ with this would have been better than having Antonio job to Sheamus because Randy Orton got pissed off because Sheamus tagged himself in. This is only leading into the Royal Rumble for these two to look like they're going to have eventual feud. I don't know if Randy Orton's going to turn heel or it's Sheamus are going to turn heel. I have no idea which one of these guys is going to turn heel first. But it's obvious they're going to turn one of these guys heel because they're going to feud against one another. There's no way they're going to have these two faces, which aren't that great as it is, face one another. Look, let's be honest. Ryback needs to come on SmackDown. It's going to happen. And you need to switch one of the baby faces that you have on your SmackDown show to a heel so Ryback can be paired up with the other one. If it's Sheamus and Ryback, it's understandable. If it's Sheamus and Randy Orton, it's understandable. If you don't pair them up, you're not going to get anywhere in the show. And this show sucked. So the next thing, Miz versus one of 3MB, Heath Slater. Why? Just because they were on the show and they got politely insulted. I didn't feel nothing here. It would have been better if they had built this and cultivated this. Look, you can say whatever you want about Heath Slater. You can say whatever you want about Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre. We already know Drew McIntyre is the only one amongst that group that has potential to be a true main eventer. He has the look. He has the attitude. I did a video on him months ago saying, should he go back to the Sinister Scotsman? Look what they've done with Sheamus. He was known as the Great White for months. But now they've gone back to the old Celtic Warrior moniker. You could do that with Drew McIntyre. But this is not about Drew. This is about Heath Slater. And I said this many times on many reviews for Heath Slater. He is so bad, he's at least something. Like a B movie. You have bad dialogue. You have bad visuals. You have bad storytelling. But when you combine them all together, it could become a cult classic. He could be something that could be interesting in the mid-card if they structured him properly. And he's not. But the problem here is this. It's not about his structure. It's about the storylines they stick him in to make the structure of his character work. And he's had nothing. 3MB is the only thing they've had. And eventually they're going to break this up. But I doubt it's going to be immediately. Seeing Heath lose to Miz, I like Miz, and I even said in my themes, who has the best themes? The Miz has the best theme that exists right now. Even though I do like Drew McIntyre's song a lot better, and I feel that it is a great song. It is still my favorite. But the one that truly marks someone is the Miz's song. It does. His song truly indicates how great he is. Because it came, just like I said, from a reality show background and made it in this business where many people backstage, and they did it in front stage, said he really isn't worth much. That song works, but this is not working. Miz is way better as a heel. I already know that. But the problem is they didn't structure him well enough as a heel to do anything. He's better in the main event as a heel than he is going to be possibly as a face. Because they're not structuring him right as a face. He's more over as a heel. So this match was boring. It was almost like heel versus heel, especially when he did the eye poke. Dude, you're trying to get over as a face. You're not in betweener. You're a face, Miz. It's not working. I'd rather see Miz go back to being heel. Or at least if he has to stay face, change what they're doing with him. Because I don't see nothing for him. Miz TV is now becoming a joke. Not because it's structured badly. It's because it's being featured too much. Sometimes if you feature something too much, it loses its appeal. Miz TV should not be opening Raw or SmackDown constantly. Have a Miz TV once in a while. Bring in someone that's very impactful, really going through a decent storyline to get Miz over, as well as the person he's with, even if it's someone he's feuding with. But I don't see that here. So I see Miz just taking a deep slide. As a face, he's sliding. He is. And I feel bad about that because I do like The Miz. Next, a confusing thing, and I'm going to say this right now. The three-way, well, actually it's a three-way. For the simple fact, this mixed tag, six-man tag, was almost like a three-way. You had the fully grown adults and the little kid of Hornswoggle. And who was the one that decided to have Hornswoggle actually pull off at least 2 stunners and actually beat the crap out of Primo and Epico a little bit? Where did they get this from? If you're going to do that, you should have done that years ago when he was truly over with the crowd, before he became irrelevant. When he first came out with basically Finley, when we didn't know who the hell he was. We knew him as just a leprechaun. JBL said it. Really, have him at that time show that he could actually do some type of wrestling. This, now, after being around for 6 years at least, come on now. I lost this one. This made no sense. Where did this lead to? Why would you have this 6-person tag? It made no sense. And even though Kali won, what did we win here? Nothing. I feel sorry for Natalya, because Natalya right now is the strongest physically, the strongest diva they have, next to Tamina. And I will be coming with Tamina and Layla in a minute. But she's the strongest physically they have. And they could have been doing something with her, because now that they got rid of Beth Phoenix, who was the strongest diva they had, they have no one to challenge anybody. Eve is the most dominant woman. Seriously, Eve doesn't come close to Natalya's strength. Eve doesn't come close to Natalya's ability. She's not that great of a wrestler. At least you can say with Natalya, being from the Hart family, she knows how to wrestle. She does. We know she can wrestle. But we don't see anything here. So I don't see the point of Kali being with Natalya unless they're going to do a love angle on it, which they're not. We just see Natalya dancing around. I don't see nothing here. This really brought the show down. And then Tamina with Layla made it even more confusing. I don't get what's going on with Tamina. That look, and then having Layla look at her like, what the hell? There is no feud between them. Nothing. They don't show anything in the back to show that they have any conflict. So why in the hell would you show something like that as a conflict when they don't even show it behind the scenes? Look, if anyone understands how the system works, I'm still learning it right now myself. If you want to show that it's a real conflict or a partial one, you got to do something behind the scenes. You got to let the cameras watch them get pissed off at each other to make it interesting. If you just start having sneers at one another and saying, ooh, there's something going on between these two, it's not enough. It isn't. If you actually think you're going to get Tamina over like this, and I'm saying this clearly, the one thing I enjoyed about this entire match, no, two. One, Tamina is not a bad looking woman at all. She's not ugly. And that splash that she does is actually quite nice. Once she gets up from that splash, and she had that really sneerish look, at least at that moment at the end, made sense, and it made her look very sexy and appealing. Layla having that split while Tamina's on her back, and you get to see in between those legs, even though you don't see anything. Guys, if you never thought of what Layla L looks like with split legs wide open, clearly with the camera facing straight, with her legs spread out like this, that was your moment. Layla is still one gorgeous woman in my opinion. She's the second woman I love next to my Naomi. Naomi's still number one for me. But if there was no Naomi, Layla would still be my number one. She was for many years. And seeing her spread her legs like that and not split, one, shows how truly flexible she is. Two, shows how much she wants to try and make people see how much pain she can go through by extending herself as much as she can with Tamina on her back. And three, if she knows that there are horny men out there, she's trying to get some sex appeal by spreading her legs as much as possible and letting the camera zoom right into it, and just, even if you couldn't see all the meat, it still looked incredibly sexy. I don't mean to be so graphic, ladies and gentlemen, but let's be honest. For a man who wants to see actual action in the ring, he's not getting it. Who wants to see actual storylines in the ring and outside the ring, he's not getting it. The only thing he's getting is some nice looking women who from time to time will get in positions that are very sexy and very erotic. And this is what we got. Now, next. Okay, I'm going to get this over with right now. And this made no sense. Wade Barrett versus Kofi. 2 backstages. One with Wade, one with Kofi. Useless. Seen them before. Seeing a video package before the match. Look, if they're trying to do something with Kofi and push him, they got to show something. Because after Wade won the match, which I didn't even watch the entire match, there was no point in it. I already knew 2 things. 1, if they didn't allow Wade to keep the belt and threw it right back on Kofi, what was the point of Wade going through all the stupidness? And 2, I didn't believe that they were going to do anything afterward. I didn't think they were going to do anything afterward with Kofi, and they didn't. If this is supposed to be the beginning and the end for Kofi being a face to turn to heel, this coming Raw, they must show Kofi going after one man. One man that Kofi must go after, and I'm saying this right now. Kofi must go after R-Truth. You know why? For the simple fact, R-Truth and Kofi are friends. R-Truth and Kofi were tag team partners and tag team champions. R-Truth and Kofi have been known to still be around each other. You must have R-Truth piss off Kofi to the point where Kofi turns heel then. Because if you're showing video packages of somebody that's supposed to be dynamic, supposed to be great, but then is losing his ass off, you must turn him heel. Kofi must turn heel now. Because what do you have with Kofi? Kofi is not just in mid-card hell. He's not. Kofi needs to be released. This is what I see. I see the same mid-carder. Only one mid-carder we have. One. We have everybody undercard. We have only one mid-carder who challenges undercarders and then they go back down again. And that is Kofi Kingston. Kofi is the only mid-carder we have. There is no other mid-carders. Everyone else that you see is undercard. And then when Kofi, obviously, when Kofi challenges somebody, they become mid-carders. And it's either they stay there and then move to the main event, maybe, or they're thrown right down back in the undercard. That's it. Kofi's the only person in mid-card. The only one. And I find this disgusting. Either do something with Kofi or release the man and let him go to TNA. Maybe he'll have better chance over there than he would have here. If Kofi Kingston's watching this, my son, listen to me. If you have to leave, leave and go to TNA. If they'll take you, they will take you. You've been in the main event for a long time. Go to TNA if you got sick of this. Do not go to ROH because you're not going to get anywhere. Go to TNA because you have a better shot. Now, I finished ranting about that, and I may just put that in there. My rant on Kofi. Finally, Sheamus and Orton versus Antonio and Big Show. What do we got? We got a same old match between 3 guys and one guy who was featured there. And I say this again. I said this earlier. When it came to the opening of the show. I know I said this before. I'm going to say it again for one reason. Because this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this. For the reason that I'm saying this right now. Is Antonio was featured. This was for him. This entire match was only circled around Antonio Fazzado. I have this feeling that he's not only going to go into Royal Rumble, he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. I have a feeling that Antonio is going to be placed at near 10 and under. And I have the strange feeling that Antonio is going to be allowed to last for a while. I'm not saying he'll win it. But I have a feeling that Antonio is being featured enough now. They're going to show him. So when they throw him in the Royal Rumble, at the very earliest number, he will stay there for a while. Just like what happened with Cody and with Miz the year before, I believe. I could be wrong about this, but I believe I'm right. That the Miz and Cody were the ones who lasted the longest. No, not the longest, but lasted longer than anyone thought. So my thought is this. Antonio's going to be probably from 1 to 10. And he's going to stay there. Why am I saying this now instead of my prediction? I may not do a prediction because if they don't structure these shows better after this SmackDown, I don't even have an interest in doing a prediction. I don't. They got to give me more than what they're doing now. So how do I rate this show? C. And I'm only giving it a C for the simple fact Antonio Cesaro was featured. That was the entire show. Antonio was the one that was featured here, no one else. You can say whatever you want saying that Antonio's gimmick and character sucks. The people he's facing sucked. Doing his promos because he's being told what to say sucks. But get this, they still believe in him enough to structure the show. Or maybe I might actually say Antonio shine for my title. I don't know. Either Kofi, Rant, or Antonio's shining. Shines. Might be better. Well, I hope you enjoyed the ZANE'S view. Subscribe and comment to my channel. I know people get tired of me. I know no one said anything. It's been very complicated and difficult to get these videos out. Not only my own disinterest. I admit it. Some of these shows have made me very disinterested. But you know what? I have a lot on my plate. Things aren't going very well for me right now, but I am getting better. And if people get upset about me bringing these videos out late, give me a comment and just say, dude, we understand you're having problems. Keep up the good work, or just say, dude, we can't stand you releasing videos this late. Do something. Give me a comment. I would rather have the first one than second, but I'd rather have your honesty. So thank you and have a good night.